All right, so I'm going to just tell a little story. There we go. I can't see anybody at all with these lights, so if I'm just staring off into space, I apologize. But I'm just going to tell a little bit of a story, and I promise we're going to get somewhere eventually with it. Again, from the Department of the Redundancy Department, my name is TJ Gamble, and I am the CEO and founder of Jamerson, an e-commerce agency strategically located in the middle of nowhere in beautiful Opelika, Alabama. And most narratives start with a good origin story, so I figured we would have one as well. And I was raised in, of course, no slides. Is this not the clicker? Can I not progress the slides? There we go. I was raised in the small town of Daviston, Alabama, a population of about 300 people. I think they're down to about 200 people now because no one stays in Daviston forever. Young people move out and old people die. And so it was at the age of 18, I was one of those young people that moved out of Daviston, Alabama, and I relocated to the big city. Slide, please. This is not working at all, so I'm just going to yell at them to change slides. I moved to the big city of Auburn, Alabama, metro population of about 65,000 people. Big city, I know. I think we're up to about 100,000 now, so I obviously bet on the right horse there city-wise. And while at Auburn, as a 20-year-old college student, I did something stupid. And I know what you're thinking. As a 20-year-old college student, I did a lot of stupid things, but there's one thing in particular we're going to talk about today. I founded what I aspired to be an enterprise e-commerce agency in a geography that had 0 enterprise e-commerce merchants. And I grew up in a small town, in my own little bubble, no formal business training or background. And so I didn't understand things like market size or that we would actually need customers to stay in business. And so, when bills started rolling in, you got to adapt and overcome. And I came up with what I thought was an ingenious strategy. And we began focusing on the technical implementation portion of certain platforms and partnering with larger graphic design, marketing, user experience firms in big cities to help them deliver projects that they didn't have the technical capabilities to deliver. Slide. And this allowed a small firm in the middle of nowhere, Alabama, to work with some very major brands and deliver some projects we're very proud of. Working with these big brands created this contrast, and a very interesting contrast in our business, where you would go one day from working on a major project with a big brand that has enough money to buy your soul if they want to turning around and working with a small merchant with virtually no budget whatsoever. Slide. And as an agency owner, you love the big builds. You collect the logos, and you can brag to your friends later about the logos. You can leverage them to get more sales, and they really pay the bills. And you as a business owner, you like to stay in business. But as a small town guy, poor Alabama guy that started a business with absolutely no money myself, it's a lot of fun and there's just something special about working with a small merchant and helping them overcome their own limitations and really seeing the difference that you make in their business that you don't necessarily see with the big guys. And so, with that, this contrast allowed us to really see what the large guys are doing, or almost always doing on their website, that the small merchants are almost never doing on their website. And those are the things we're going to talk about a little bit more today. And here's the magic of working, back a slide. Here's the magic of working with a small business, in that if they don't have a very large budget, you had better focus on things that provide a pretty immediate ROI, or that budget quickly dries up, and then you are soon out of work, and that's bad for everybody. So, there's lots of things that may be low-hanging fruit, okay? If your site's inherently broken, or, people can't check out, if you're not doing basic things like abandoned cart emails, by all means, let's start on those things. That's going to get you a good ROI. But I'm assuming you're slightly sophisticated and your website's working for you and you're just looking to kind of take that next step. So we're going to focus on those things that a lot of small merchants can do to try to continue that journey. Now, if you're doing all of these things, congratulations to you for being completely and totally awesome, and I apologize ahead of time for wasting a half an hour of your life that you're never going to get back. But while you're here, hopefully there's something here that will provide some sort of value to you. With small merchants, most small merchants we talk to, they want more traffic. They come to me asking for more traffic. That's really the thing they think is going to take them to the next level, is getting more traffic. And traffic's good. You definitely need to do that. But that's the old school retail mentality, right? That's why you put your business on Main Street, not way out in the country somewhere. Because if you've got some sort of conversion rate and you've got a certain amount of traffic, well, if you throw more quality traffic at it at the same conversion rate, then you're going to get more sales. So most merchants understand that regardless of the level of sophistication. The problem with that is that traffic is expensive, and it's only going to continue to get more expensive. Ways you used to be able to get organic traffic, well, now that's moving to paid. Google wants more of your money. Facebook, you used to be able to get an organic reach with all of those followers, and now you've got to boost your posts. And so if you find some method of organic traffic these days, an up-and-coming platform, or your SEO is really doing well, obviously milk that for everything it's worth, but just know eventually that's going to move to a paid model. That is what these platforms are in business for, so sooner or later they're going to start extracting money out of you. And as your market matures, and you get more competitors, or your competitors get more sophisticated, well, they're going to increase how much you have to pay for that traffic. And so with that, it's not just about getting traffic. It's making sure that your business is actually utilizing that traffic to your benefit. Next slide, please. Okay, there's really two parts of a high-performing website. There's traffic generation, which we've talked about. That's things like PPC and your organic ranking and social media, and that's just what it sounds like, things that get traffic onto your website. And then there's on-page optimization, and that's stuff that increases your conversion rates and maximizes the lifetime value of your customers. The on-page optimization is going to help you when it comes to maximizing the value of your traffic that you get. And the company that can spend the most money to acquire traffic is the company that is going to win that game. And how do you spend more money acquiring traffic than your competitors do? Well, that traffic has to be worth more to you. And that's really where on-page optimization comes into play, is to making your traffic worth more to you than it is to your competitors, so that you can go out there and spend more money to acquire it. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm getting ahead of my slides here. Sorry, the clicker's messing me up. Go ahead and let's get to the next slide. All right, so the first conversation we typically have with merchants wanting to take that next step is a little alliteration I came up with here: test, don't guess. And basically that boils down to let your data be your guide. I have a feeling. It's been said to me so many different times, or implied in some way, shape, form, or fashion, when I ask a merchant why they want to do something on their website. I have a feeling. And a lot of small merchants work off feeling. They have an intuition about their business, about their market, and it's gotten them this far. It is integral to their success thus far. But intuition doesn't necessarily scale. At some point in your business, you get to where either the things you are doing have such a big impact, positive or negative, on your business, or you don't have the resources to guess wrong and recover quickly. Well, that's when you have to start letting your data be your guide and quit working just off intuition or feel. Next slide, please. Because that feeling you have may just be gas. And I don't want to make a change on your website that's going to affect your business and mine because of the burrito you had for lunch. So make sure you understand the data of your business, where you're doing well, where you're deficient, and figure out ways to fill in the deficient areas and quit just guessing and then measuring the results for those. Next slide, please. That's why for us, a business intelligence tool is non-negotiable. And this is something a lot of small merchants struggle with. I have Google Analytics. It's measuring everything on my website. It's free. Do I really need to pay all of this money for another data analysis tool? And Google Analytics is great. That is a great piece of the puzzle, or any other analytics if for some reason or another you don't want Google to know everything there is to know about you. But next slide, please. Data is useless if you can't leverage it, right? It's not about having the data. So many merchants do things and then see what it changed in their analytics without letting it guide that decision-making process. So leverage the data, make your decisions, and then measure the results on those. For instance, do you know the lifetime value of your customer? Most merchants have that or can get that information, that's fine. But are you measuring the lifetime value of a customer that made their first order with a coupon code? Or the customer that ordered first on a Black Friday sale? If you knew the lifetime value of those customers compared to the rest of your customers, don't you think that would affect how you spend on Black Friday, which is the most expensive time of the year to acquire customers? Of course it would. Don't lump all your customers together and say, here's the lifetime value and here's my acquisition cost. You have to segment customers. Understand your highest value customers, where you're getting them. You know, what channel are they coming in from? What's their demographics? What's their geography? What products are they ordering? Segment those customers out, and then from there you can spend more money to acquire those types of customers. But you have to identify what those good customers are using a business analytics tool. Now, if you just have one website and Google Analytics, business intelligence is useful. If you have multiple websites, or you start getting into acronyms like ERPs and CRMs and POS systems, and you can actually take that data and leverage it to get a full view of your customers, that's when it becomes unbelievably powerful, and that's where a lot of businesses fall off, is having that view of your customer regardless of what channel they're interacting with you. Next slide. According to Glue.io, there's a lot of business intelligence tools out there. I'm not selling you on one in particular. Magento has a fantastic business intelligence tool. I think Adobe has their own. Our new overlords, don't know if they'll be pushing that on us, but with Glue.io, it's one we use for a lot of our customers, they estimate that 15%, a business can see a 15% profitability increase by using business intelligence to steer their decisions. So there you go, that right there, we're making money already. Next slide. Trust. So much of a high converting website comes down to trust, and there are a lot of things you can do to build trust on a website. Content is one of the biggest ones, right? I mean, product descriptions, images, videos if you have those, blog posts, anytime you can show a user that you understand what they're looking for and that you understand your product, that's going to help build a little bit of trust. But that's e-commerce 101. Everybody knows we need good photos and descriptions. Where a lot of merchants are falling down is going to be in user-generated content, such as reviews and social media posts. Next slide, please. According to Trustpilot, a review service, 84% of your customers trust a review as much as a personal recommendation. Let me read that again. 84% of your customers trust a review from a stranger on the internet as much as a personal recommendation from someone they know. What a strange world we live in. Again, it's reviews, right? You need reviews. Amazon made sure that everyone knows we need reviews, and we're all here for a Magento conference. Magento has a review system built in. I'm good to go, no problem. Not quite. Where most merchants fall down is not knowing they need reviews, not being able to take them. Most merchants we talk to, they've got that mechanism and they're like, reviews are great, they're showing on our website. But what they don't have is a proactive strategy to actually acquire those reviews and then leverage them to their benefit. And not just reviews, but even social media posts. Take social media posts, put them on your product page, right? That's like the best review you can possibly get, is that someone is actually posting about your content. And so don't sit back and hope they do it and then leverage it. Be proactive in incentivizing and trying to acquire this data from your customers. Next slide, please. Trustpilot estimates you can see up to a 45% increase in Google click-through rate by simply having stars showing on your search engine ranking. And how do you get stars? You have reviews and you put some rich snippets on your product pages. I mean, that right there is just easy money. So get the data, leverage the data. Next slide, please. There are other ways to build trust. Again, there are tons and tons and tons of ways of building trust. And getting sales from your customer is all about reducing friction and building that trust. Really, it boils down to make it easy for me to obtain the product from you, and then if there's a problem, make it easy for me to give it back to you. I mean, it's very simple. So many people, like, yeah, we have a return policy, but make it easy, make it obvious, make your customers feel comfortable with, if there's a problem or a mistake, I can get it back to you. And a lot of merchants, they're scared, right? I'm going to put this up there, and all these people are going to send me all these fraudulent returns, and I'm going to get empty boxes back. And I understand it may not work for everybody's market. Free shipping doesn't work for everybody's product. Free returns doesn't work for everybody's business. But take the chance, experiment with it, and see if it works for you. Oftentimes, the return and the increase in conversions that you get from it far outweigh the actual detriment and the negative returns. Next slide, please. Not sure if I'm a good programmer or just good at Googling. A lot of people, I don't know how many programmers are in here, but this is a very popular meme on the internet. I built an entire business by just being better at Googling than most people. You do not want to get into a Googling contest with me. Probably will not go in your favor. But this alludes to really how difficult it is to search. And if searching is so complicated and difficult for the most technical of us, the programmers who actually write code, imagine how bad it is for just your average consumer. Next slide, please. The Nielsen-Norman Group, which is a usability group, released a study where they characterized consumer search or consumer research behavior as incomplete, saying it brought to mind words like pathetic and useless. In other words, people don't know how to search. Next slide. According to Clevo, which is a search engine, I believe they're out in the hallway there, up to 13.8% of your revenue on your site can come from search. Up to 40% if you sell detail-oriented products. Now, I'm not 100% sure what they mean by detail-oriented products, but if it ranges from 13% to 40%, it ranges from, man, that's important, to damn, I'd better get right on that. So you need to be paying attention to search, and it's not that difficult. Your customers are on your site every day, literally telling you what they're looking for. It's like, what are my users searching for? How do I improve my search? Literally look every day at what they're doing on the website and make sure that you're creating synonyms and you're linking things together. And you know, if they're searching for a category, send them to the category page. If they're searching for a SKU, send them to the product page. If they have misspellings or you see how they're phrasing things, make sure they can find what they're looking for. Next slide, please. According to Clevo, industry-wide conversions average about 2.77%. But if a user searches on your website and finds what they're looking for, that increases to 4.63%, which means basically, for the most part, you have twice as good a chance of selling something to someone if they found what they're looking for. Now, how much people search on your website is going to vary depending on a lot of factors. You know, how big your catalog is, you know, what types of products you sell, how bad your navigation sucks. But when they do search for something, you really want them to be able to find that product, because that doubles your chances of actually selling something to them. Next slide, please. So when it comes to search, you need to treat your customers like they're idiots, because according to Nielsen-Norman Group, they probably are, right? They don't know how to search. And so when you actually make it simple and easy for them, and they find what they're looking for in an efficient manner, they're going to be so happy, they're going to buy it from you. So you really need to be working every week to constantly, consistently improve your on-site search. It's one of the biggest things we see to getting an ROI on a website. Next slide, please. And then once you have a good search, don't hide it. I mean, if I'm not smart enough to search, I'm not smart enough to click around and find the search bar on your website. So make that obvious. Next slide, please. And we're going to finish on a few things that I don't need to elaborate a whole bunch on. And I don't, it sucks that we even have this conversation in what's about to be 2019. But when your customer is ready to check out and they're ready to pay, make it as easy as possible to take their money. Don't you want their money? I mean, they're on the final step. They've found what they're looking for. They're right there ready to give you some money, and you just don't have a convenient way for them to do it. And most merchants nowadays will have something. They may have PayPal. You may be upgrading to Amazon Pay. But what I would like to say is most merchants we deal with evaluate things like payments every time they redo their website. So that's 3 to 5 years typically. They evaluate what payment options they actually have on their website. So at best, they're 3 to 5 years behind whatever the current industry standard is for payments. And so always be evaluating, at least yearly, evaluate and experiment with different payment options. You may have PayPal, you may have Amazon Pay, but maybe Venmo really works for your market. If you're selling really big products, experiment with different financing options, whether it's PayPal credit or you're using some other service. Always be looking at what the latest and greatest is as far as payments and be evaluating whether or not that works for your market. Again, it's all about testing. Nothing works for everybody. Next slide, please. ComScore estimates, and this is a study by ComScore. I didn't come up with this number. I'm skeptical just like you are on this number. It seems insane. But ComScore did a test where merchants that had PayPal Express on their website had a 47% higher conversion rate than merchants that they studied that did not. And okay, it's a big number. But even if it had a decimal, even if it was 4.7%, that's something you need to be paying attention to, right? And PayPal has been around for a long time, but there's a lot of different things out there, and you never really can tell what's going to work in your market. It really depends on what you're selling, what your demographic is, what industry you're selling into. So next slide, please. Speed sales, right? And again, this is e-commerce 101. You guys know you need a fast website. The problem we have with merchants that we deal with is that every small merchant typically improves their website until people quit complaining about it. The problem with that is the only people that are complaining about the speed of your website are loyal customers. Everyone else has another option. They bounced, they left, right? So if you get it to where nobody's complaining about it, doesn't mean you've got it to where it's converting at a high rate. So Amazon estimates that for every 1 millisecond they cut off of their site load time, increases their conversions by 1%. Now, you may not get that same improvement because if your site takes 10 seconds and you improve it 1 millisecond or 100 milliseconds, it's not going to make that huge of a difference. But don't just go until people quit complaining. Always be focusing on improving the performance of your website, because speed matters, and as your market matures and your competitors get more sophisticated, it's going to matter even more. Once they have better options than your slow website, they're going to take those options. Next slide, please. And with that, that's pretty much my story, my contact information. I have a little YouTube channel called eCommerceaholic. You can find me on just about any social media platform under eCommerceaholic. We'd love to have you as a subscriber. I'm not afraid to beg for subscriptions on YouTube if any of you happen to be on there. So with that, any questions I may or may not be able to answer? No? Nothing? Right there. I think it's kind of... Oh, okay. Genty, what's going on? That was the Super Bee. For those that don't know, I drove my Super Bee, the orange car, to Austin, Texas for Mage Titans, and then I was driving it back this weekend, and I believe I blew the engine in it. I'm not 100% sure yet, but it stranded me in Louisiana for 2 days. this past weekend. So yeah, that was the Super B. Yeah, top always varies, right? It depends on what the merchant's doing right and what they're not doing right. Again, the first one you do is start measuring, right? Absolutely 100% get measurement tools in place, because you won't even know if any of these other techniques improve your business if you're not measuring it. So get a business intelligence tool on there, start paying real close attention to your analytics. That's the first one we always do, because nothing matters if you're not measuring. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them out there, right? And most marketing platforms are going to come with some sort of analytics involved. Any tool that compiles them, but it really depends on the sophistication of the merchant. For instance, we really like Springbot, right? Springbot gave a presentation on this stage just a little while ago, and it compiles a bunch of basic information that a merchant needs to focus on. It gives you some lifetime value stuff, but really that's what they feel like is important to you. And so it's hard to actually take that data and mine it for your own stuff. Like I mentioned, being able to tell if I incentivized a merchant into a first purchase with a coupon, if I incentivized a customer into a purchase with a coupon, how does that play out on average, right? How does that customer, is that customer better than my normal customers? Is their lifetime value less? Do they only order once? Right? And if they only order once, if people I incentivize with a coupon only order once, well, do I want to continue incentivizing them with a coupon? Like, is that worth it to me? Because if I'm selling something at a very small margin, giving them that coupon may not actually be what's in best interest for me long term. If I assume my lifetime value of a customer is X, and I'm spending X to acquire that customer, or a little less than X, during Black Friday, but then I find out those customers order once and then never come back because they're just looking for a Black Friday deal, maybe I don't want to spend that money, right? So you just need a business intelligence tool. We really like Glue, but Magento's business intelligence is a fantastic tool as well. But whatever tool works for you, with most merchants, they're not going to have the technical sophistication to use a business intelligence tool. So they're almost always going to rely on you, or you can, like Magento will actually work with you to set up the reports you want, and if you have particular reports you can't generate. And I think Glue does the same. So it's just about getting things set up and working for a merchant, but typically you're either going to need some agency help or you're going to need some help from the analytics tool to get the data out of it you want. Anybody else? Like I said, it's pretty blinding. I can't see here. No? All right. Thank you.